Hi guys, back again. We're going to talk more about the subtle forms of emotional abuse. And I wanted to start by talking about the fact that the reason it's subtle is because it's not really obvious. Now, there's obvious abuse. If someone's shouting, yelling, hurting you, touching you inappropriately, hitting you, that's not subtle. That's obvious abuse, isn't it? We're talking about those subtle, it's those things that get said, the way you sort of bat your eyes at someone or roll your eyes. It's those little comments that kind of really get in there, and it's that sort of seething disapproval that you might elicit from someone, and just by being you and doing what you want to do. And so I wanted to talk more about it, because I think the reason it goes on and it's subtle is because generally, now I'm going to talk generally because I can only talk generally. Everyone's individual and everyone's experience is unique. So I'm just going to generally talk about this subject matter. Most of the time it's subtle because these people aren't all bad. Now, maybe you have a relationship with this person. Maybe they babysit your kids. Maybe you live in their house. Maybe they, lent you a lot of money. Usually these are parents, grandparents, people like that, step parents, even siblings. But these people are important. And maybe there's a transaction here. Maybe they take care of your kids. Maybe they've, paid for you to go to college or uni or whatever it is. These people maybe are giving you stuff or have given you stuff. And so there's a transaction that's happening. And so sometimes those kind of relationships will elicit a lot of emotional abuse. It's like, well, I do this for you and I expect this, I do this for you and I expect this from you. I expect in return for what I do for you that this. And sometimes these people that do this the most are actually really kind, loving, caring people to some degree. Maybe not, but generally they're not all bad people. Maybe they are very kind and caring. Maybe they're very generous with their money. Maybe they invite you around for dinner all the time. Maybe they look after your kids. Maybe they do a lot of stuff for you. Parents, especially parents, can be very smothering in their mothering, which doesn't always help, because it's like you feel guilty. Well, they do this for me, and now that they kind of want you to step up for them, so you feel compelled to do stuff for them. And it can be a bit tricky. And of course, I'm generalizing, so this isn't always. Sometimes it's, maybe these people don't do anything for you, but they still expect a lot. So I'm talking about how the transactional thing happens. Sometimes it is a transactional thing. Or maybe they're just your parent and they do nothing for you. So let's take that, for example. But there's this unspoken, unsaid, but the rules. The rules are, you come round and you do this. And I mean, we all play by these unspoken rules that we all know what they are, and we know what's expected, some of us, and we know when our parents aren't happy with us. We just know it. Some parents, they won't, if they don't text you or they don't call you or they don't ring you, somehow, oh my God. And if you're thinking, oh shit, what have I done? You know that you're dealing with someone that's got some narcissistic tendencies. You have to know who you're dealing with, because a lot of the people that do these are actually can be very victim-like. Woe is me. They feel sorry for themselves and they kind of project that out, and they want everyone else to feel sorry for them. And we do feel sorry for them. We see them as kind of, we pity them. And this is what it elicits. People that are victim, they feel sorry for themselves and then they want you to feel sorry for them. Or maybe they cry, or maybe they carry on, whatever it is. And so you have to know who you're dealing with. for me, it's about empowering the individual that feels like they're being emotionally abused. Well, what have they got over you for a start? What are you, in this transactional analysis or a transactional relationship, what are you taking so that they demand you give back? So know who you're dealing with. And a lot of people, sometimes I call them the most sensitive, insensitive people we know. They say whatever they want, but God forbid you say anything, remotely challenging or negative towards them. The most insensitive, sensitive people They are the victims. Are they a victim? Is this someone that does a lot for you? Because there is definitely a transactional thing happening, and it's like, well, I'll do this for you and you owe me forever. And that's just the way it is sometimes. It's just the way it is. And so know who you're dealing with. Do you feel sorry for them? So it depends. If they're doing a lot for you, then it's power. It's kind of power. They have power over you. And you know it on some level. So if they're, maybe they've given you money, maybe they give you money, maybe, they look after your kids, maybe you live in their house. That's tricky because, this is a transactional thing. So yeah, they'll give this to you, but they want something in return. And maybe you don't want to give that in return. And so you have to realize that maybe they're holding a lot of power because it's transactional. I think that's actually another ball game. I think that's something, if you're in that situation, then maybe you need to learn to be a bit more independent, or maybe these are people that, yes, if they do stuff for you and they're going to want something in response, then you have to learn to, get your needs met elsewhere. If it's not transactional, and they don't really do anything for you, they just play that victim. Oh, no one's here for me, I'm all alone, no one comes to see me, that kind of thing, then that's kind of, I think who you're dealing with. It's like the first thing you have to stop doing is feeling sorry for them. People who are victims, who can be emotionally manipulative, are very good at getting their needs met in an underhand way, and that's because I think that comes from a deep sense of insecurity or a deep sense of entitlement, one or the other. Neither works. And so if you feel sorry for them, if you see them as victim-like, I want to encourage you to stop seeing them that way. Stop feeling sorry for them and stop seeing them maybe as they see themselves, which is a victim. Stop seeing them that way. So I want you to take control of the one thing you can, and I want you to imagine, just do an experiential thing. I want you to imagine, maybe you close your eyes, and I want you to imagine the person that you feel maybe is emotionally manipulative, and I want you to see them whole, healthy and well. And as you see them whole, healthy, well, enjoying their life, laughing, having fun, just imagine that, hold that in your mind's eye, and then now feel how that feels in your body. When you imagine them whole, healthy and well, how do you feel? You can pause the video if you want and do that for a bit longer and just write down how do you feel. And now I want you to imagine them victim, lonely, sad, bleating on about, and emotionally manipulating you. So hold that vision of who you think they are in that moment. Lonely, crying, sad, all alone, vulnerable. Now come into your body, how do you feel? So maybe pause the video, just hold them in your mind's eye, victim-like, lonely, sad, crying, whimpering, in that victim stance, and then go into your body and tell me how you feel. How does that feel? Now, hopefully, when you see them whole, healthy and well, you'll feel a bit lighter, maybe a bit better. Maybe angry. Hey, don't know, who knows? I don't know how you're going to feel. But maybe when you imagine them lonely and sad and vulnerable, you'll feel bad. You'll feel terrible. You'll feel guilty. And so this is how they can manipulate us. Because If you feel guilty, usually it's that emotion that then leads you to then try and do something that they want you to do. See, we're all led around by emotions because what have we been told? Repress, deny and avoid. Okay, so you don't like feeling those feelings, or the guilt, oh, I don't like it. So the guilt is what motivates you to then go do what they want you to do. And so there you're sucked in to their demands, their wants, their desires, their manipulations. And so this is about you controlling the one thing you can, because you control this, you manage this, you take care of the body, right? And so you control the mind, see them whole, healthy and well. Do not see them as less than, victim, lonely. Don't go there. Don't do it to yourself. Care how you feel. And then hold that, see them whole, healthy and well. You see, you don't want to be driven around by your emotions, because if you are, then you're the kid's running the show, right? Now, if you go back and watch one of the videos on inner child, you'll understand exactly what I mean. This is the parent, the adult is the body, and the emotions are the child. So if you're being driven by guilt, then you're being driven by a child. And this is how they have power over us. And so if you want to take power back, you have to stop letting your child run the show, because their child's running the show. That feeling pity for themselves, feeling sorry for themselves, or even feeling like an entitled brat. You know, that's all childlike behaviors, okay? When you're an adult, and I know I spent a lot of my time feeling guilty until I did a lot of work, and I know I don't do guilt anymore. Nah. Guilt is a very normal, natural feeling that you get when you've done something wrong. If you're not doing what someone else wants you to do, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. That guilt is toxic guilt. So yeah, if I've done something wrong, you know, if I've messed up, made a mistake, done something well, not on purpose, maybe I've done something, and if I've done something wrong, yes, I feel guilty. Normal. But if I feel guilty because someone wants me to do something I don't want to do, then that's toxic guilt. And so you have to stop being led around by your emotions that you don't want to feel, which is guilt. And so this is about having a different relationship with you and your emotions, and not letting guilt run the show. And you have to be able to say, I want you to imagine that little kid, that emotional part, maybe the little boy or the little girl that felt like he always had to do what mummy or daddy wanted him to do. I want you to tell that part of you, it's okay to feel guilty. I can see that you're struggling right now, but the fact is you haven't done anything wrong. So you talk to that part of you that feels guilty, and you tell that part, I can see that you feel guilty, but you haven't done anything wrong. And this is why we have to stop allowing our toxic guilt to run the show. Because while the toxic guilt is running the show, you will be in a position where you will be able to be manipulated by the manipulator. See, that person you can't control them. We can barely control ourselves. You can't control them. So you can't control them if I call them boundary busters, you know, the people that just kind of boundary bust all over your healthy boundaries. Now, for me, it's about they can do whatever they want. I can't control them, but I can control me. And I can stop being manipulated by my own toxic, guilty feelings, because that's what's happening. I don't like the way I feel. It's guilt, this horrible feeling of guilt and ickiness, and it's like, oh, I feel like I've done something wrong. You haven't done anything wrong if you don't want to do what they want you to do. If you don't want to, you know, they say jump and you say how high. That's toxic guilt. You have to stop allowing your toxic guilt to run the show. So this is about having a different relationship, the part of you that feels guilty, because that's a part that you don't want to feel, and you want to repress, deny and avoid, and you can't do that. You have to say, well, okay, yes, I feel guilty, but there's a righteous guilt and there's a toxic guilt. And righteous guilt is, well, I've done something wrong, yeah, and I feel guilty. That's your consciousness telling you, yes, you don't want to be doing the wrong things because you feel guilty. But if it's because you haven't done anything wrong, you just don't want to do what they want to do, then that's toxic guilt. And you have to speak to that part of you and acknowledge, I can see that you feel guilty, but I'm here, the parent to the child, I'm here to tell you, you haven't done anything wrong. What you're feeling is toxic guilt. And if you don't listen to that part of you and make peace with or tell that part of you, it's okay, you haven't done anything wrong. You are in that moment betraying yourself. And that's why you feel so bad about everything, because you let that toxic guilt, you don't like it, you repress it, and then you go do what the other person wants you to do. And then you resent them and you betray your own heart. You betray yourself in that moment. And that isn't going to work for you, because if you keep betraying yourself, what do you think is going to happen to you? Now, I'm going to stop here because I know there's a lot to say and there's so much I want to say and so much I want to share with you. But I really want to encourage you just to do that one exercise. Practice seeing the person that you feel is being very manipulative over you or abusing you, to see them whole, healthy and well. If this is an issue where you feel sorry for people, or them in particular, that's something you can do something about. You can't really change them, but you can do something about you. So hold that thought in your mind. I see them whole, healthy and well, and see the difference in how you feel. Okay? Practice, practice, practice. Let me know how you go. All right, next time we're going to talk about another small part of this process around helping you manage people in your world that are emotionally abusive. Anyway, off now. Bye.